Hello. Hey, everybody, everyone, the one person who's here for right now. See if some more will join us soon. If you are in Instagram Live, drop me a message or drop me a comment, I should say. I'm testing this, obviously, the first go around. So if all the technology doesn't work right out the gate, that's okay. It's a learning curve. But glad that you can join us. Love to have as many folks as possible. Share it if you got a chance. There's an easy way that you can do that if you're on Instagram also, where you can share and let others know that you're watching this. So feel free to do that. It is Sunday. It is Sunday. It's what we used to call the Lord's Day, but it's okay. I don't particularly practice that anymore. But so now it's a day where we get to celebrate joyous, blasphemous thoughts, sacrilegious ideas, crazy thinking. And so we're glad to do that on this first Sunday go to meeting. I those of you aren't familiar with the phrase, it was made popular, I believe, if I remember right, like in the 1920s or 30s. And it's meant to be an expression that said, thank you, Maddie. I as well. It was an expression basically said, it's time to go to church. So, well, I don't go to church anymore. So I get to enjoy my mornings. Hope you've had a good morning. What have you been up to? I just I had a lovely breakfast, kind of a little later breakfast with the fam, and we're going to have plans to enjoy our day. But yeah, so well, welcome. I thought I'd start by sharing a little bit of my credentials. So it's interesting. I talk a lot about this on my website, that people tend to believe other people for usually three reasons, a combination or all three of those reasons. One is that they believe that the person has character. They have some integrity. Doesn't mean that they're always right. Doesn't mean that they don't make mistakes. But generally speaking, they're a person who really strives for authenticity and to be committed to the truths, the ideals, the values that they hold true, that they hold dear. Second thing is that they have some passion. It's emotion is a huge, in fact, arguably maybe one of the most influential things in helping people persuade other people to believe something or to follow them in some action, is that they have a lot of passion. But then also another one is that there's some logic, there's some rationale. There's a sense that this person knows what they're talking about, at least to some degree. Right? We all don't know a whole lot, in my opinion, but we do know some things, and so I thought I'd start by the Apostle Paul bragged about his credentials to speak to the theological issues of his time. And where he called himself, what is that passage? I was meant to write it down. And of course I forgot it because, last time I read the Bible was a few years ago. But where he bragged about his credentials in the book of Romans, I believe. Gosh, it's been too long. I will find that passage while we're. Oh, yes, exactly. Where he referred to himself as a Hebrew of Hebrews. And I like to refer to myself as an evangelical of evangelicals, if I may. There's a lot of other folks out there who have similar pedigree or background. We were steeped in evangelical Christianity, some of us from birth. Some of us were converted into that at one point in time. But, if you're going to be talking about religion, which is a big part of our focus of Sunday Go to Meeting live streams, it's kind of nice to know that this person has had some lived experience, some education, some background where they could speak to this issue. So a little bit of my own background, if I may, to start us off. So I grew up as the one of the youngest of two sons of parents, my parents who both grew up in the church here in America. One grew up in the General Association of Regular Baptists, which was like a hyper fundamentalistic religion. No drinking, no movies, no anything, just really fundamentalistic. That was my mom. My dad, he grew up more in a Methodist background, so a little bit more, it might be considered more liberal, but not really. They're still squarely in the same camp, but maybe without some of the rigidness of those rules. Good example of that might be that, and I've shared this story before on other podcasts and so forth, is when my mom and dad were dating, and this will give you an idea of how old they were. My dad asked my mom to go see a movie, and it shocked her because the movie house is where Satan dwells and shares his radical, crazy ideas and corrupts God's precious children. And it shocked her. But would you like to guess what movie? What movie was my dad inviting my mom to go see? Well, it was My Fair Lady. So, needless to say, not the most morally shocking movie material out there. But for my mom, who grew up in a hyper fundamentalistic Christian background here in the United States, it was pretty shocking territory to be in. But I have often told people that if you take an American Methodist, an American Conservative Baptist, and you meld them together, a fundamentalist Baptist, you'll get an evangelical Christian. That's kind of like the history of evangelical Christianity here in the United States. At one point in time, believe it or not, evangelical Christians were supposed to be more moderate. We're supposed to be the softer side and a little bit of a reaction to hardcore fundamentalism here in the United States. That clearly has gone out the window for the most part, with a few exceptions. And nowadays, most people who are considered evangelical are considered amongst the most conservative, radical, and I would say even radical in their religious ideology. So, anywho, that was my pedigree. And then I grew up. I'm in the late 70s and early years. Born in 1974. So I grew up in the heydays of the rise of the religious right, in the musical revolution of Jesus music, the Jesus movement, and all the music that it inspired. Christian contemporary music. I was saturated in that music. In fact, I'm going to talk a little bit about on Wednesday's live stream, but I'm going to be doing a book review soon on my website. And if I do it video based, it'll be also on my YouTube channel on a book called God Gave Rock and Roll to You. Sorry, blanked for a second. Great book on the history of Christian contemporary music. I was steeped in that. Purity culture, evangelical purity culture, the late 70s and 80s into the 90s, all the youth conferences, all of that stuff. And I was secretly, in many ways, terrified of the things that I truly believed about Jesus, about his second coming, about his radical call to follow him, and what that would look like for my life. And along those lines, I was also I wanted to make my parents happy. And so what did I do? I not only threw myself headlong, became a believer, got baptized in a little branch of the Russian River here in Northern California, that I felt, even though there was other things that I loved doing, loved sports, kind of an athletic guy, I loved music. I excelled in playing jazz. I played the trumpet for a number of years, all through like my childhood years, into high school, and even a little bit into college. But largely, I was actually going to go major in music. I ultimately ended up leaving that all behind because I wanted to serve God with excellence. I didn't want to live an ordinary life. I wanted to please him. So I decided in those days, as it probably is now, if you really wanted to be the elite, even if you weren't thinking it that way, you weren't like, oh, I want to be an elite Christian. But if you really wanted to serve and please God in your church community, best way to do that really was to go into ministry, either ministry or overseas missions. So you're either going to be a senior pastor or youth pastor, or you're going to go overseas and share the gospel. Well, I ended up giving my life to ministry, went off to Bible college up in Portland, Oregon, Multnomah. Now, Multnomah College, or university, I should say it's called. It was just recently bought out like a year ago by William Jessup University, which is another university here in Northern California that I have some history with that I'll get into, I'm sure, at some point in time. But I left and studied at Multnomah. Multnomah's, for those of you who are familiar with kind of like the evangelical world, sometimes it was historically referred to as the Moody Bible College, or the Moody of the West. So there's Moody Bible Institute in the Chicagoland area, and along with like Wheaton and Dallas Theological Seminary and Philadelphia College of the Bible and Bible Institute of Los Angeles, or Biola University. These are all schools that like were flag bearers of staying true to the Bible and the gospel as an evangelical academic institution. And so I went to Multnomah and studied and majored in biblical and theological studies, and majored in pastoral ministry, and started my career in ministry. I ended up giving about almost 16 years, or I think about 16 years of my life serving in professional roles, along with the 4 years that I was in college, along with the very first time I even preached. I taught the Bible was my senior year in high school, at a youth Sunday. And so I was 18 years old, of course. So I ended up preaching and teaching the Bible for about 25 years. And then also spent, like I said, those 16 so years in vocational ministry, along with all those years of training in undergraduate. I also would eventually go on and get a master's degree from Western Seminary, also based out of Portland, Oregon. So that's a little bit of my pedigree. This is what I bring to this conversation. One of the things I'm really excited about, or I love, is over the last number of years since I left the church and eventually left Christianity, which really that process started. That started in 2000 and end of 2017. It's when I really left the church, and then eventually left Christianity. So it's been a few years now, and I'd say that I'd say that one of the things that has been so wonderful, and I can actually identify quite a few things that have really been wonderful in my life since that time. A lot of difficulties, a lot of challenges, a lot of loss as well. But one of the things that has been wonderful is regaining a new family of folks who have liberated themselves from radical religion and fundamentalism, who have learned to embrace and pursue their true authentic self, to apply reason and their mind to understanding this world. I've met and connected with so many friends. Some I'm working with and collaborating with even now around the issues of religious trauma. More on that later. But these are some. That's one of a number of just amazing gifts that I feel like I've had. I feel like I've truly found peace when I was supposed to have found. Before that, supposed to have a peace that passes all understanding. Well, now I have an understanding, and with that has come great peace, far greater than what I had when I adhered to radical religious ideologies. So, well, with that said, that's a little bit of my background. This website that I created that's connected to you'll see the bio. It's www.KIRTELEWIS.com. Sorry I didn't put it in a banner. I'll make sure that if you're following this on Instagram or on YouTube, you can always find that link in my bio. I'll get better with the technology moving forward. But, I would say that that was a big part of my desires, because not long after I left the church, I just felt like I had to talk. Like a lot of people, I'm a verbal processor. So I was like, I'm going to verbally process this online. So I created a website. That website started writing quite a bit, slowed down. I was in between jobs for a few months, so I had lots of time to write. And then, like the rest of you, re-entered normal life, where we have to work just to pay the bills and all that stuff. And so the writing slowed down a little bit, but that platform is really valuable to me. And since I launched that, I know that it's been viewed, individual articles and so forth have been viewed by over 30,000 times. So I'm really pleased by the number of people who found that. I've gotten a lot of great feedback, things I've shared about what was often sometimes referred to as deconstruction, from my fundamentalistic religious cult that I was a part of, the cult of evangelical Christianity. And yes, I do believe it's a cult. And I remember, though, that towards the tail end of my years in ministry, there's a tagline that you'll see on my Instagram bio and on my website, where it asks the question, genius or crazy, you decide. And there's actually history behind that phrase. And the history is that I was meeting with a pastor that I was working under at that time. It was towards the tail end of my time in ministry, like I said before. But I was becoming more and more vocal in that last year or so. A lot of what I was calling out at that point in time, in 2016 or so, was the cult of Trumpism and how that was sweeping through evangelicalism. And I was starting to call that out. And I met with this pastor who was very uncomfortable with that. And we were at a Starbucks, and he said, Kurt, you're either genius or you're crazy. Really, just side note, I don't think I'm a genius, but the point. He's trying to say, he's saying, like, basically it's like, okay, you either are onto something or you're crazy. And by the very tone that he used, it was pretty clear what he meant. He meant I was crazy. I was batshit crazy. And I've come to believe that, no, I wasn't crazy. I was onto things, like many other people were identifying in those days and the years after. And that began a process of me unraveling really my whole religious beliefs in Christianity, because I started to recognize that the symptoms that we were seeing, the draw, the appeal of authoritarianism that we were seeing, actually has really deep and historical roots within any kind of religion, particularly exclusive monotheistic religions. And so it was like a pivotal moment. And I'll never forget when he said that thing. So that's why you'll see that tagline, genius or crazy, you decide. It's up to you. You can decide. Hopefully, if you're not watching this live, you'll watch it some other point in time. And I hope you'll drop your thoughts in the comments wherever you see it on our YouTube channel. So that's a little bit of background on religion. We're going to be talking about religion every Sunday this time. And I hope that more and more people will find this. We're just starting it, so I'm not surprised that I have an audience of one. Thank you, Maddie. And others will join in the future. But we're going to be talking about religion. We're also going to be talking a lot about relationships. So what kind of relationships? What do I mean? I'm talking about relationships internally with ourselves. I'm going to be sharing a little bit about my journey into internal family systems as a model of therapy. But just talking about other insights about how we can really know and value who we are inside. Our relationship with other humans. And I thought just for fun, I would share the meme of the week on relationships. I found this recently. Like you, I probably consume maybe a little bit too much social media. That's okay. I can rein that back in a little bit, but there is some really brilliant and fun and healthy things out there. And so I was like, okay, I gotta share this. I'm gonna do this on a regular basis. The meme of the week on relationships. Let me pull it up here really quickly, because this is just too brilliant. And then we'll go from there. Okay, check this out. This is great. There we go. Yes, that gal, she cracks me up at the end when she like fades off of screen. It's just perfect. And if you can't read the caption, again, it just says when you're with the person who's good for your mental health. And there's really something about being with people where you can finally truly be yourself. And we're definitely going to be talking a fair share about that. We're also going to be talking about relationships with other living animals. I'll be talking about my journey into adhering or believing. Adhering, wow, believing, but it's the words I'm looking for. The most important thing is I've made a choice personally to pursue a vegan lifestyle of not eating any kind of food that is the result of either killing an animal or exploiting them for other things. Mainly, like people think of dairy as like the number one example of the exploitation of animals, the cruelty towards animals in order for us to have something to consume. I've been on that journey actually for a little over 2 years now, and I love talking about that. And my partner, Amanda, she's a longtime vegan, is 12 plus years, some of that initially because of health reasons, but then eventually became an ethical choice for her as well. And so we're going to be talking about veganism, living the vegan life, and just showing as much as humanly possible kindness towards our animal friends. We'll also be talking about our relationship to the environment, which brings us to the next thing that I wanted to talk about this morning, which is we'll do on occasion some product review. I don't know about you, but as I've learned more about how we live and how harmful it is to the environment around us, like many, we're trying to do our part, even if the steps are small, to find ways to leave as little of an impact on this world that we share. And so I just realized I forgot to grab it, so I'm literally going to walk off screen here and grab it. But I wanted to do, on occasion, a product review of something that we're trying to use in our household that hopefully limits the impact. And some of these might be so small that you're like, what the hell? But when you start to think about how simple choices that are made by us as consumers, with sometimes just the products that we buy, how that's exponentially, the exponential impact of when we start making shifts in those decisions and using things that don't have a negative impact on our environment, or have a much more minimal impact than maybe the other products or services that we were accessing before, then I'm hoping that more people will like catch on to these products that I'll be highlighting on Sunday morning. So let me grab that really quick, because we're going to talk about dog shitty bags. There we are. Welcome to the first product that I want to highlight on our Sunday go-to meeting in our section on relationships with the environment. Dog poop bags. Who has dogs? If you have a dog, congratulations. They're wonderful. We have a very senior, nearly 16-year-old Mexican Chihuahua named Fifi. Also have a cat that many have seen me introduce, Ginger, on what I've been a guest on other podcasts. And so, if you've observed or watched those, you know how much we love our animal friends. And so we're going to talk a little bit about various products from time to time. And this is the one I wanted to highlight today. It's dog shit bags. I don't know about you. You want to try a mindfulness technique? Oh, here we go. Let's talk about mindfulness. You always hear these amazing descriptions of how to go out and enjoy moments in nature, to find stillness and tranquility to still your mind? Well, let me tell you about one of my routines that I do every morning, approximately between 5:30 and 6 a.m. when Fifi wakes up. And we know that Fifi wakes up because she gets up and she shakes, and you hear her bell go off. And if you don't get up at this point in time, for her as a 16-year-old, nearly 16-year-old Chihuahua, you're going to probably be doing some cleanup in the relative near future. So we're motivated, and it's something that I've taken upon myself to be part of my morning routine most of the time. I like giving Amanda a few more extra minutes just to lay in bed and relax. So I get up and I take Fifi outside. And, most of us are used to, just in general, having all kinds of plastic bags. We know, and it's easy to Google and research just the absolute just travesty, the amount of damage that is done to our environment, the harm that it does to other animals, that the use of plastic materials, and particularly plastic bags, often have on so many different aspects of our fellow animals that share the world and the environment. And so we thought, actually, Amanda introduced this to me, that there's all kinds of other products that are alternatives to that have materials that are much more biodegradable. And this is one by Green Walker, is the name of the company. Greener Walker. And these dog poop bags. So I always going back to my story. See, I lose track of time. I've wondered at points in time is I might be an undiagnosed ADHD adult, because I definitely tend to skip around a little bit. So hopefully you can follow me. But I was sharing my mindfulness technique, because if you just go out in the morning and you have to stand there and watch a dog poop and then pick it up, it really grounds you in the moment. You know what I mean? I feel grounded, very grounded. Anyways, here's the dog poop bags. Let me tell you, this box comes with 540 bags. So this is like a year and a half, 2 year, whatever. It's like unless you have, I should say, for a small Chihuahua, if you have a big lab or something like that, yeah, you might go through them a little bit quicker. But here in our neighborhood, people, it's important to go and pick up as you go. And so we use these Greener Walker dog poop bags. I'll make sure when we're all done recording on here, I'm going to drop the description or link to their website in the YouTube description of this live stream. But these are great. They work just the same, and yet the material is designed to biodegrade much quicker. You can do this with trash can bags, all kinds of other things that we're used to going and getting regular plastic bags for. So here's my 2 thumbs up, my hearty recommendation. If you own a dog and you want to be a little bit more friendlier to the environment, get some dog shit bags. Sorry, dog poop bags. They probably don't appreciate that. Here by Green Walker. These are cornstarch blend, eco-friendly, leak-proof bags. Leak-proof is important because, we don't need to say why. Anyways, hey, that's your quick product review of the dog shit bags. So listen, these live podcasts, depending on the number of people participating in the future, I don't have, sometimes you go into these live streams and you got to leave and then you come back and they're still going like an hour later. I don't have the time or the energy to do like a feature length film 3 times a week. So my intention for these, much like the articles I post on my website, which are designed to be kind of like condensed starters, like you can read them in 5, 6, 7 minutes. Some of the longer ones are 9, 10, 11 minutes, but they're not that long. They're designed to be quick reads or listens if they have the audio version. And they're meant to just get the ball rolling, get your mind going on whatever the topic might be. Same thing with these live streams. They're just quick ways that hopefully I can share some of what's on my mind. Also in the future, when other folks are joining us, it's a great opportunity for me just to have a conversation with people as we go along. And so I'm looking forward to it. Let me tell you what's coming up. We have 2 more live streams this week. Actually, one just tomorrow night. Tomorrow is Labor Day. And I'm looking forward to talking about Labor Day. So here's the way it goes. We talk about religion and relationships in general, relationships with ourselves, with other humans, with other living animals, and with the environment around us. That happens on Sundays at 11 a.m. Sunday Go to Meeting. On Monday, we have Case of the Mondays, classic line from one of my favorite movies, Office Space. And on Mondays, what are some of the things that we talk about? Well, we talk about politics and economics. And I just want to say that what is specifically on the docket for tomorrow, I should say. So for tomorrow, I'm going to be sharing my reflections on the last week's Democrat National Convention. Yeah, I'll be talking about that. What I'm referring to is the Democratic National High School Pep Rally. We'll also be talking about the significance of $783.65. $783.65. What would you do with $783.65? I can tell you, and I'll be telling you this tomorrow, what I wouldn't be doing with it. And unfortunately, I'm going to be talking about an expense that I had no choice in. It had to happen. And I'm not happy of where that money went. We'll be talking more about that tomorrow. Like I said, tomorrow is also Labor Day. So we're going to be talking about Labor Day, talking a little bit about the history of Labor Day. A lot of what I'm going to be talking about on Mondays around social justice issues as it applies to politics, the political world, policymaking, and economics. Also will feature a lot on work. I have a lot of opinions and a lot of thoughts about work, especially work here in the American context, but probably just about true anywhere where capitalism is the economic system. And then the last thing that we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to spend some time remembering Emmett Till. And if you don't know who he is, well, you just have to tune in tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, when we will be talking a little bit about him and remembering his unfortunately tragically short life, but a life that ended up having a profound impact and is still having a profound impact on addressing a great social injustice, one of the greatest social injustices of human history, and certainly still present in our time, unfortunately. So with that said, listen, I want to thank you if you've taken the time to come back and watch the recorded version of this, about 33 minutes or so. And I hope that you can join me in some of the live streams. Oh, I forgot to mention, we'll also be back on Wednesday, lunch break, 12 to 12:30. I'm keeping it 12 to 12:30 Pacific Standard Time because I'm at work too during that time. And so I need to keep it within the confines of our current expectations of work here in the United States. But join me for Hump Day Nooner. That'll be a lot of fun. What we talk about at Hump Day Nooners, one's probably not all that shocking. We talk about sex and sexuality, but we also talk about American pop culture. I can't wait to talk a little bit about both of those on Wednesday. It'll be a lot of fun. So you're on a lunch break at 12. Hey, join me. You're working remotely or you're in the office, you can have your headphones in and your boss isn't paying attention. Join me for a Hump Day Nooner. And we'll talk about sex and sexuality and pop culture, TV shows, film, music, so forth. We'll talk about those subjects. Listen, I hope that you have a great rest of your Sunday, and we will see you all tomorrow night. Hope you can join us for the next live stream, 7 p.m. And if you haven't done so already, I really appreciate it. If you want to stay on track and know when these are happening, definitely follow me on Instagram or on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, click on that little bell, so that way you'll get notifications when we go live or when new content is posted. But until then, we will see you at the next Kirt in Real Time tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Bye.